Driving from Auckland to Wellington, the drivers vary as enthusiasts get into an area that is usually reserved for the elite. The cars vary even more from the pre-1960 historic to the latest production and modified speed machines. It's not just a rally, it's an event, and it's becoming more and more popular each year, the Dunlop Targa New Zealand Rally.
Dunlop Targa New Zealand, 2003.
These cars were made to be sprint cars originally. They threw new gearboxes, new turbos at them every half a day back in '84 when they were rallying. So we've had to reinvent the wheel slightly and make this thing reliable.
It's got probably a little over 400 horsepower, maybe between 400, 450, so that's good. You know, that's what we need. We need more punch out of the corners, a lot of bottom end torque. It'll really drive well.
Well, if we have a disaster like we've had before, that's it. Go home and start knitting.
We're running ceramic apex seals, which come out of NASA, and that gives us a lot more torque and a lot more horsepower. And more instant power.
No, well, Peter Perfect didn't come this year. Rumours had it that he was a bit scared. You know, 9 times Bathurst winner and all that, but apparently he pulled the pin on us and said, no, Mustang's going too fast this year, we'll give it a miss.
In this part of the world, names like Peter Brock, Steve Millen and Robbie Francevic are synonymous with motor racing. These days, hardly an eyelid is blinked when these heroes of the past line up alongside relative unknowns like Anton Talley, Rick Cooper and Peter Johnson for New Zealand's premier motor racing event. So a newcomer, especially a novice competitor from the other side of the globe out here to experience Dunlop Targa New Zealand for the first time, would probably go unnoticed. That is, of course, unless you're the most famous voice in motor racing history, Murray Walker.
It's all slowly coming back to me. I mean, the Toyota Camry that I'm sitting in is an old friend, because I sat next to Colin Bob for 6 days, and I've just remembered how to work the Terror Trip here, and your whole life revolves around this thing.
Walker, in only his second outing of this type of road racing, the first in Australia's sister event, Targa Tasmania, is sitting alongside Chris Amon, the Formula One legend, behind the wheel himself for the first time in more than a quarter of a century. It'll also be his first time in a rally.
The fact that we've only got one special stage prior to the track is good to give me a feel for how it's all done. Today, obviously, is a pretty easy day, yeah, there's a few butterflies appearing.
Until last night, I'd never met Chris. I used to watch him racing when he was with Ferrari and the other teams he drove for, but I never actually got close to him because I was a paying punter in those days. So it's a real pleasure to be with a legend like him.
Walker and Amon are competing in the production class, one of a handful of categories covering historic, classic, contemporary and modern vehicles. The entire field, numbering more than 200, covers just about anything seen on the road in the last half-century. Here's an opportunity to enjoy the thrills and spills of tarmac racing on roads across the North Island. There'll also be a chance to test out those driving skills on 3 circuit tracks, Pukekohe, Taupo and Manfield. But first, there's the prologue, an 8-kilometre stretch of country road at Papakura, just outside Auckland, designed to sort out the seeding or starting order. For former New Zealand Superbike champ Tony Rees, being on 4 wheels is a new experience.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be given a drive in the Monaro here, and yeah, it should be a bit of fun. It's a real big experience for me, and yeah, it's a learning game. You know, the whole thing is reading lots, and I'm sharing the drive with Craig here, so I've got a lot to learn today.
And if you want to know what it's like in the driver's seat, check out Chris Amon in the Toyota Camry with the excitable Murray Walker calling the shots.
Now we're coming up to this left hand, and there's caution, there's water on the outside of the corner. I'm expecting to see the 2 warning arrows at 4.08. There's the first of them, the green background, the exclamation mark, now the yellow background, and this is the one we watch for water on the outside of the left-hand corner. There it goes, I can see the water down there.
The times gained in this stage and a Pukekohe racetrack will be used to seed the cars for the start proper tomorrow morning. It's a chance to dial in your head and sort through those last-minute handling problems.
Very excited as he comes off the circuit.
Fortunately for Colin Denise and the MG Midget, these times won't count. Unfortunately for Will Sellers, he won't see Pukekohe racetrack committing the cardinal sin, going too quick in the prologue and losing control of the once immaculate GT3 Porsche. And with it, nearly the chance of competing in his third Targa. And the main event wasn't even underway.
We just thought our event was completely over when we stepped out and looked at the car. It had snapped suspension all down the left-hand side. But it's all together. Now we've got to behave ourselves and get to Wellington.
Weather influences all motor racing, and Dunlop Targa is no exception. The green pastures in the Waikato are there thanks to some hefty rainfall of late, and is not letting up as teams line up for the start of the first full day of racing. Slowest away first is the order of the day. Ray and Jeff Sanders in the 1961 GenCom Technology Sunbeam Rapier, not the slowest, they're 7th, which means there's 6 cars slower than them today. And that also means there's only another 190-odd cars behind them that are all quicker. At 30-second intervals, that's a hell of an incentive to keep the foot to the floor. Wellington is where we're bound. 5 days and 2,000 kilometres away, and nearly 650 of those are competitive, over 49 closed special stages. It's been an early start this morning, so after just one special stage, teams stop at tiny Ruawaru School for breakfast. This is the unique side to Dunlop Targa. A little graft and corruption for local schools and charities always helps ease the inconvenience of having their roads closed. A small price to pay, really. And if you thought the weather might dampen the kids' enthusiasm, think again. These kids are out to make a buck. No gold coin, no entry. By the way, no gold coin, no exit either. Gotcha. Special Stage 2 and 3 loop around Lake Whangape before heading south to Taupuri. The rain has certainly taken the shine off the opening stages this morning for more than 1 or 2.
We couldn't stop, and we had to take this route down here. We had no option, nowhere to go. Bit of a bad situation for us, but never mind. It's racing.
Trying too hard. Stage 3, second stage, we had the inside of the screen was badly fogged, and trying to make up time. And there's a ridge there. We dropped right off the road on the inside of the corner, and as we come out, the ridge held the front wheel in and the back stepped out, and a bit slow on the opposite lock, tipped it over a couple of times. Well missed.
Sadly, the race is over early this year for the man who delights in entertaining with his Mark III on opposite lock wherever possible. And there's a wheel full of opposite lock being engaged in Special Stage 4 on the left-hander into Lake Road with varying degrees of success. Up front where the action is, reigning champion Anton Tallard is once again making his presence felt, posting quick times on every stage. In the process, using all the road and some. But he's not having everything his own way. Last year's runner-up, Australian Tony Quinn in the Porsche Turbo 4-wheel drive, is hot on his heels and keen to reverse the result from last year after his recent win in the East Coast Classic Rally in New South Wales. On every stage, the powerful Porsche has little effort dealing with the slower cars that might be on the road ahead. He calls himself a Kiwi, lives in America, and is here driving a quick Australian car. the Team Talk Falcon XR6.
It's a new car, of course. It's a 2003A BA Turbo Falcon, 6-cylinder motor, but it really is a good handling car. Brakes very, very well, and so it's run Targa Tasmania this year. Did very well, finished 10th overall. So it's got quite a bit of development in the car. And it's a good, strong car. It's bigger than what you'd normally like to have for a rally car, but good power, good brakes, good handling. That's all you need.
Is it a front runner?
I think it could be in the top 10, we know that for sure. Maybe the top 6. Can it be in the top 3? I'll tell you on Friday.
Australian husband and wife team Rhonda and Greg Burrows are 10-year veterans of tarmac racing events, having competed in Classic Adelaide before switching to the longer special stage distances on offer in Dunlop Targa. Up to special stage 7 on their second target, their record was unblemished, but all that was about to change.
You okay?
I'm perfect.
And we had a good start to the morning, but a pretty big driver error in special stage 7. And there was a little tiny crest with a dip after it, followed by about a 7 right. And moss on the road. A shower had just come through, went over the crest and got very slightly light, and basically went straight ahead. And then there was a very big fall. Whether we go rallying again in the near future, I haven't decided yet.
He wants to go motorhoming.
That was a pretty big fright.
The Cure Kids entry, a 2003 Mini in the hands of airline pilot Michael Fitzpatrick, has been souped up this year after its first outing in 2002. Suddenly, the little Mini is very much the New Zealand job, throwing down the gauntlet and looking like a real contender for an outright win. Not bad for one so small, but the specially prepared race car is doing the business for the officially adopted Research Foundation entry, Cure Kids. Hard-charging Joe McAndrew, keen to get home to Wellington, wastes no time disposing of Peter Johnson's genuine vehicles import Peugeot 205. Still obviously not as reliable as PJ would like. Well off the pace, but dare I say it, gearbox problems? There's a classic battle looming between old adversaries, Mike Parsons in the TR7 and Nelson Marshall in the Ford Capri. Add to that a competitive Ashton Woods in the RS 1800. And Robbie Francevic's big Pontiac GTO is right up there on the pace. Looks like his gearbox problems are okay so far. As the day comes to a close, Mark Piddock's in the paddock for the second time.
Just a drive error, just too fast into the corner and blocked the wheels up, and this is what happens.
Still, it'll take more than a romp in the Tokoroa paddocks to kill the old Thunderbird. For now, there's time to watch the rally race away to the overnight stop. The final of a dozen special stages ends today at the Hydro Dam at Atiamuri, just outside Taupo. In the end, an Australian leads Dunlop Targa 2003. Tony Quinn's Porsche Turbo the quickest today. Defending champ Anton Talent is just 22 seconds behind, but 30 seconds in front of Joe McAndrew in the Mazda RX-7. The GT3 of Will Sellers, who recovered from his misadventure in the prologue, is slipped in behind Michael Delmont in the 75-2002. Steve Millen and Ray Williams hold on to 6th in the Team Talk Falcon XR6, with Michael Fitzpatrick's Mini leading Alan Scott by 13 seconds. Rick Cooper and Nelson Marshall round out the top 10. Taupo Domain, a car salesman's dream. Millions of dollars worth of motor racing history all lined up and ready to roar on day 2. Taupo is Rick Cooper's hometown. He's a car salesman and currently in the top 10, so life doesn't get much better.
Oh, it feels great, mate. I mean, Taupo is a sports-orientated town. I mean, everything from Ironman competitions. It's what makes Taupo thrive. And as one person in the community, I'm proud of everything that comes to the town, and the town's thriving. That's what we're here for.
Now, at this stage each year, it's too late to speak with Robbie Francevic because he's usually in a garage somewhere under the Tally's Pontiac or screaming at someone else under the Pontiac who's fixing the gearbox. But not this year.
Well, we're out because we've done more this year than we did in the whole event last year. So hopefully we found our problem with the transmission, and so we can get into it.
Our Australian race leader, on the other hand, is dealing to Dunlop Targa, relishing the wet conditions. The Scotsman, with Australian co-driver Keith Wen, has the four-wheel drive on top and is singing the praises of the Porsche.
Yeah, this is a Targa car, which is it's a twin-turbo four-wheel drive Porsche, top-of-the-range Porsche, and it's such a shame. I mean, to make it a true Targa car, you would take another 70 kilos out of it and ruin it, but we prefer to have the air conditioning and the CD player and stuff like that, and it just, you know, it can be turned back to a road car, basically.
So what are you listening to?
We don't listen to each other. We serenade each other. We're nightingales on the road.
So you haven't got any CDs in there?
I sing some Scottish songs that he doesn't understand, and he sings some billabong Australian things that I don't understand.
One thing they can understand, though, is Targa racing. And today it all happens south of Lake Taupo, around the gumboot capital of the North Island. 4 special stages centred around Taihape, with plenty of variation in road surface. According to the route book, hilly, rugged sheep country, fast, open, smooth-flowing roads with some big drops. Plenty of cautions. Take due diligence, otherwise you won't make it into lunch for the gumboot throwing competition. Tim O'Connor and Mike Page in their BMW 3-litre coupe obviously don't have too much interest in gumboot throwing.
You came around a corner too fast. Yep. Yeah, I just crossed up and we lost it. Pretty wet road, into the grass and into the ditch.
Gary Morgan and Andrew Fox aren't so lucky. Their Targa turned on its head with their Subaru Legacy RS.
We're coming up that straight, full boost, probably 140, 150k. Put it into a bit of a backslide to come around the corner because we knew that's the way it looked. And just hit some mud or cow dung or something and just kept on understeering across the road. And hit the clay bank on the other side in the ditch and rolled over about 3 or 4 times. And this is where we are.
So, you got a backup car or?
Nah, we'll get it on its wheels and we'll see what state it's in. If we can get it going for tomorrow, we'll get it going for tomorrow. But we think engine-wise and everything we were okay, so it's just a matter of how badly it's damaged panel-wise.
Gary, take a look over your shoulder. Lunch at Taihape, the gumboot capital of New Zealand. Now, why is Taihape the gumboot capital? Because it has a huge corrugated iron gumboot right in the middle of town. And it just is, okay?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Where are you off?
Sorry?
Where are you going?
We're going to Wellington, mate. All the way to Wellington.
No, we're not. We're throwing gumboots, Sam.
That's right. Yeah, but we're going to Wellington. This is just a side issue here.
You reckon you can do it?
Well, we certainly hope so. We spent all day yesterday putting a new gearbox in, so we better spend the rest of the time driving.
I was talking about
the gumboots, Sam.
Do I reckon I can do the gumboots? Well, hopefully I don't throw it over the fence like most people seem to, but I'll give it a good go anyway.
Enough talking about it. Let's get on with the competition. The road to Palmerston North this afternoon heads south, then east to Pemberton and skirts down the Ruahine Range. As expected, rain is beginning to influence this race as the front runners line up for Special Stage 18.
Yeah, well, you definitely do a lot of sliding, I know that, so I like the sliding bit, that's quite cool.
This car's very good on the wet, and I quite like the wet, so these Dunlop tyres are so good. The new ones are much better than the old ones.
The road's first day very wet, very slippery, but you got to press on, and I'd have to compliment Dunlop on the new tyre that they put out there. Grip in the wet is incredible.
And we've got a hell of a duel going with Steve Miller at the moment, and I'm not too sure whether they could have been quicker than us through those stages.
Sellers might be in a duel with Millen, but it's Anton Tallet charging back through the field after gearbox problems yesterday, who's all over the back of the GT3.
Yes. Don't worry about that, you just carry on. Doesn't matter.
probably got ground to make up.
The warning is timely for Sellis. A close call in Special Stage 19 is yet another reminder of just how quickly 0 to 0 can happen.
Oh, no. Hold it in a bit.
Lucky for Will, his handbrake. That's why Ainsley in the co-driver's seat is keeping him in check. Despite the rain, everyone seems to be flying, including the old Mark II Jag, Fly Emirates, under the capable control of Emirate pilot Blair Brownlee, based in Dubai and home especially for the Targa.
Leave it on.
Now, piloting a Jag through Targa backroads is probably akin to flying a jumbo in a pylon race, but Captain Brownlee has the English classic flying, doing his sponsor proud. Well, most of the time anyway. Seems this corner is not to be underestimated. John Hudson caught with a fair bit of understeer. Next in, the big red Monaro. But before you blame Tony Rees for belting the bank, he wants it known he was in the co-driver's seat. Too bad, Tony. It was your job to warn Craig to slow down. Now, keep in mind who owns and drove the Monaro last year. Maurice Shapley and Glenn Cotterill. That's them in the BMW. Seems the cars must have been prepared in the same workshop. Same understeering problem.
Did you get that?
Yeah, we sure did.
I think I was offline. I was way too wide. Should have tucked in, and the road's slipperier than I thought it was. The road in the last stage was really slippery. But these big showers that are coming through, you can get a dry piece of road, and then you can get a really wet bit of road. Unfortunately, this was wetter than I thought. I was offline, and I just understeered and braked out through the fence. It wouldn't come back, and that's the result. Not very good.
One of the great features of this event is the Nava Tour, a more relaxed way to take part in Targa.
Three types of people go on the Nava Tour. The first type are people that want to get involved with rallying. This is a good lead-in. They don't need a service crew or roll cage in their car. So this is a toe in the water. The second type of person, they love their cars. They come back year after year. They love the socialising. They like being part of the biggest motorsport event in New Zealand. It's great fun. And the third type, these are people that are entrants in the main Targa event. Their cars crashed or broken down, and they've joined the Nava Tour to go to the end of the rally, to the prize giving. Great tenacity.
Charles and Mary Clark and their 3.5-litre V8 MG fall into the first category.
Well, last year we saw it, and we got such a buzz watching it. And we've also got this beautiful MG with a V8 Rover in it, and we thought, well, why not? And we thought we'd give it a go and drive on closed roads and really have some fun with the car.
And that's really what it's all about. In Manfield last thing today, everyone's on the track, and that includes the Nava Tour participants, Charles and Mary. But just how much convincing did it take to get Mary involved?
There was a bit of coaxing, and I was wondering whether I was going to enjoy a whole week of cars. But so far, I am.
Dunlop Targa is about extremes. There's no better illustration than the difference in budgets some of these teams have. Take the youngest driver in the field, 16-year-old Chris Trundle from New Plymouth. He's on his third engine in as many days and fighting just to start each morning.
Again, the cylinder wheel cracked, which was no good, so the boys had a real long night, up all night, and managed to source another motor, which scabbed off a mate for $50, which someone didn't do the bottom end up properly, so it put a rod through the block, which is no good. Just another long night for the boys, up all night, and they managed to get it together. New motor, so it goes.
How much was the new one?
$600. So it looks like I'm going to be working for a few more hours.
I think he paid too much for the second engine. But look,
I grew up with Escorts. They were my first car that I used to puddle about with. Fantastic car, but you just got to grow older and wiser, and you know, and work hard and make some money so that you can buy things that are more reliable and better.
Tony Quinn's biggest worry so far this event has been getting the air conditioning temperature at the right level in the $300,000 Porsche. But he understands what makes an event like Dunlop Targa tick and the need for competition at every level. The third day of Targa begins with 2 stages reversed from yesterday. Not that there's any advantages. Every corner, hump and bump on the road is different in the opposite direction. Running an event as large as Targa is no mean feat and takes the work of hundreds of officials carrying out dozens of jobs, from posting notices about road closures, taping up driveways on special stages, to ensuring the safety of crowds that come to watch. And the crowds come in all sizes and ages. Today, the kids from Fordell Preschool are out here ready and waiting.
What are we waiting for?
Cars.
Yeah. Where are they coming from?
Down there.
And they didn't have long to wait. The Team Kiwi 00 car first through, leading the rest of the field.
Okay, do you want to go after me? There you go.
Well, we're clearing the stage for all the competitors to follow us, so we make sure the road is safe to travel at speed. So we're pressing on a little bit ourselves, not quite as fast as the competitors themselves. This is really a good time to actually do a bit of PR work and get involved with the communities and let them know what's happening, and spend a bit of time with children here now.
In the middle of nowhere, in fact special stage 26 to be precise, is a little place called Okirai. The local farming community have taken the morning off and equipped themselves for lunch.
Good view, eh?
Anton Talent has been pushing his RX-7 to the limit. The defending champion dicing for the lead with the turbo Porsche of Australian Tony Quinn. The Kiwi leads the Australian by the narrowest of margin, just 5 seconds. But Quinn is not about to let the RX get the better of him.
It's oil on there. There's oil there everywhere. That's slippery.
Even if it means driving through some of Fitzpatrick's oil.
Car off okay.
But Talent's chances of a win are all but blown out the window. A puncture in the final stage before lunch.
The last stage, 28k stage, long stage, 2k's from the end, well 5k's from the end. Notice we had a flat tyre. Come up to a high-speed corner, probably doing 220 kilometres an hour, had to brake very heavily for it. Absolutely destroyed the tyre. So it's probably cost us quite a bit of time in that stage changing the spare.
Anton Talent isn't the last to leave lunch at Westpac Stadium in Wanganui. That honour goes to James Christopher and Trevor Ward, rebuilding their 1973 Honda Civic once again.
3 late nights of doing this sort of thing. I think it is part of it, working on the car while you're actually keeping the thing going. I'd like to say it would be boring to not have to do it, but we like the idea. We saw Chris Amon and Murray Walker who turn up and get spirited away to a nice warm hotel. And that'll be next year. But I think part of it is getting in and getting dirty.
Well, I'm not getting my hands dirty, Chris. Try our success. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's the 2 Pauls from Australia in the Ford Piranha nearing the end of SS28. Believe it or not, this car won the London-Sydney Marathon in 2000 in the hands of Swedish rally champ Stig Blomqvist. Quick, first gear, Paul. Oh, what about second? Oh, what the heck, stick her in reverse. It's not far to go. But in typical fashion, the best is yet to come. A feature of Dunlop Targa is the hospitality tent set up in strategic positions for sponsors and the crowd. It's also a chance for the Nava Tour entrants to watch the main competition with some colourful commentary to boot.
$1.50, they're worth.
In 2002, there were plenty of corners to choose from. Much of the Targa route was new and caught more than 1 or 2 drivers dozing. In 2003, they're more the wiser, but not far from Martin. This little beauty is still thought to be a good spectator spot, hence the crowd. Even with a caution in the route book, very few make it cleanly through the corner. For the rest, there's as many ways to attack this corner as there are cars attempting it. Brett Porter in a quiet, no-nonsense BMW 325i, out here especially for Dunlop Targa, had been working out ways to make his Cook Island cars stand out from the other 200 and get some much-needed exposure. We're not sure whether this was part of the original plan, but parking the Cook Islands billboard on the corner certainly attracted its fair share of attention. But it's Trevor Barlow with his sister Pamela who really attracts everyone's attention. You can only imagine what that must have felt like. Take a look.
Yep, fine.
Oh! And I thought I would just go through the fence, land on the field, to get us out later, and we've buggered the stage. And then all of a sudden, whammo into the drain, into the bank at, I don't know what speed, but yeah, it hurt.
Back at Manfield, it's on for young and old again at the racetrack. And surprise, surprise, it's raining. There won't be any lap records here today. But the times do count at Manfield, and the top 10 results look like this. Tony Quinn is back on top and well clear of second place thanks to Anton Tallett's puncture. Wellington's Joe McAndrew is a further minute back, but just over 30 seconds in front of Will Sellis in the GT3. Mike Delmont in his 2002 is staying in touch with the leaders in the 5 fastest outright. Boost problems in the turbo have dropped Steve Millen back and allowed Alan Scott through, with Ashton Wood taking over the classic mantle from Mark Parsons and Mel Clark. Shane Merland in the Integra R rounds out the top 10. For the second day in a row, the start is in the centre of Palmerston North. Now, we haven't seen much of Robbie Francevic and his classic Pontiac for a couple of days. And yes, you guessed it.
Don't talk to me about these gearboxes. I've just about... I can't eat. I don't eat anymore, mate, because I'm so full of these wrecked gearboxes.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Now we've just got the old box and went all through yesterday because it was wet probably. And then by the end of today, I might start pressing on a bit today. And then we'll see how it goes. And then if it's looking sick tonight, I'll ease off tomorrow.
11 special stages today mark the last full day of racing on the other side of the Ruahine Range in and around Dunedin. Everything's on track for the run down to Wellington today except the train. The crossing is in the middle of special stage 33 and is being marshalled for safety according to the route book. And while we're at it, according to the railways, there's only one train a week. Thank goodness. Hopefully, it's running late. Now that's a sweet-sounding Escort.
Yeah, well, it's got a 330 horsepower turbocharged Nissan engine with a 5-speed Toyota gearbox and a Falcon limited slip rear end. Power to weight ratio is quite good as it weighs less than a tonne and it has nearly 400 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 revs. So it's a bit of a stump puller. It only looks like an old Escort, but most people don't give it a second look until they see the times.
Team Talk do more than just sponsor Steve Millen's Falcon XR6. This is the organisation that transmits all the data back from the results officials to be collated in Auckland and posted on the website.
12.50 for a grain.
Their telephone radio network also provides vital communication for officials between start and finish lines at each of the special stages. Without them, there might be Dunlop, but there would be no Targa.
7-0 has entered the stage at 12.45, over.
There's all kinds of obstacles on Targa roads that must be cleared or drivers warned of before racing begins.
5.5k, cow shit on road, very slippery, okay?
No worries. There's also some, like the Genuine Vehicle Imports speed restriction zone, designed to keep the speed below the internationally approved 132 km/h average.
Good boy. Yep, well down. 60k. Keep it going.
Whether it works is a matter of opinion, but it is yet another discipline teams must deal with in the course of racing. However you look at it, it's a pause from the frenetic pace these cars travel at over the course of the week. Every man and his dog is out to see the rally in this neck of the woods, but then this is Gladstone and it's Scarecrow Week. It was party time long before the Targa got here. Now these guys really know how to raise money. None of this drop a donation in the bucket. This is departure tax. Pay up or stick around for the Scarecrow Festival. The Rimataka Range is the only thing standing between Dunlop Targa and a good night's sleep. Team legends Chris Amon and Murray Walker, with 140 years between them, cruised the Camry Sportivo into Wellington in readiness for the final day. First and last stages on the final day are around Shelley Bay in Wellington, only in reverse direction. Last year the warning was out, take care or take on water, seawater. This morning is the opposite direction and the warning goes unheeded. Wally and Jansen Simpson are okay and go on to take the Sibling Award for Dunlop Targa 2003. Kiwi motorcycle ace Tony Rees thought he'd got through the whole week without a hitch. And he nearly did. Sorry about that, Tony. Special Stage 44 has a tricky little bend just after the start with a severe warning on the route book, but cold tyres mean it still catches a few unaware. Greg Halligan's Porsche 911 CS not the first in the ditch today, and not the last, but the locals know this corner and are always happy to lend a helping hand. With Paikakariki Hill damaged in recent landslides, organisers made a quick adjustment to the special stages. Moonshine Road will be repeated, and that means plenty of cars all over the place and plenty of passing. Despite a week to carefully seed drivers in order of speed and space them evenly, some have found extra horsepower necessary to close the gap in the dying stages. Pressure is beginning to tell on everyone, even our race leader. At this stage, every instruction is critical, and a mistake now will spell certain disaster.
Just at the junction, there's a junction there, and the tulip says to bear right, and the thing goes like that, but you're supposed to go straight ahead. Yeah, so anyway, it's just a minor fault. It was the same for everybody, so there you go.
And third place Joe McAndrew with Sue McNeil share the same moment.
5 right, junction 100. It's about at 2 right. Yeah, you're right, go, sorry. Sorry.
There's only 6 tyres allowed on Targa, which puts the pressure on preserving the rubber. But the general chit-chat has been just how good these new Dunlops are.
Yes, the new Dereza DZ02G's just come in this year, and it was a bit of an unknown for us. We'd had a few tarmac rallies with it, but really pleased with how well it's gone because, as you know, the weather was pretty wet the first few days, and the guys have been raving about the grip with the tyre in the wet and the dry.
Dunlop's home, South Pacific Tyres, is in Upper Hutt, and it's host to the final lunch stop on Targa, with a short stage around Shelley Bay to wrap up a memorable week. After all, memories are an important part of life and you can never stop accumulating them. Just listen to the experts.
It's been an education. People have been so nice, so friendly and so helpful. The organisation has been superlatively good. All the stages have been wonderful. I mean, Chris Amon was doing the driving and did it supremely well. And I was actually able to find the time, A, to look out of the window and look at the scenery and enjoy it, and B, most importantly, to watch a master craftsman at work.
I can't compliment the people at Mike John and his crew, all the officials and things, the work that must go into organising this event, and the wonderful cooperation from all the public.
You know, we're so lucky to be able to do this, and the camaraderie and the roads and all that. But what really gets me is the speed the guys are doing. Like, you know, we go really, really quick through these country roads. To get out and you find that everybody else is doing really quick times as well. So it's just so impressive. It's just great to be here.
The finale is the reverse of the first stage this morning, and everyone seems to have it together. This might be the first special stage this week with no mishaps, but that doesn't stop them still going for it. Grant River's Black 65 Mustang holds on for a solid class win after the fire goes out in Craig Fraser's Ford Anglia. Mark Parsons, this year sharing the driving with Mel Clark, fights off some serious competition in Ashton Wood and Nelson Marshall. The TR7 V8 just too strong in the end. Will Sellis finishes the week in a much better state than he started, taking contemporary production class honours ahead of Steve Millen in a family sedan. Joe McAndrew turns it on for his hometown to take out modern category and third outright in his Mazda RX-7 GT. Ahead of Mike Delmont of the BMW 2002 Turbo, a credible fourth outright for a car of this vintage amongst them stiff competition. But the ding-dong battle that has seesawed all week between defending two-times champion Anton Talent and Australian Tony Quinn goes to the wire. Talent has steadily pegged back the 4-minute buffer over the last 2 days, but still is 53 seconds shy when the checkered flag drops in the last stage. So Dunlop Targa New Zealand will go abroad for only the second time in 9 years. Quinn salvaging some pride for Australia after New Zealand's win at Bathurst. The casual nature of the multinational Australia team crossing the finish line belies the real truth.
These roads are scary. They are daunting. They are terrible, some of them, but they're very challenging, very challenging. This means a lot to us because we've been together for probably 3 or 4 years, and it's our second win this year, and we'd really like to score the Tasmanian one, but there's a big hurdle there called Jim Richards, so hopefully Jim will come over to this one next year.
So the show's over for another year, and there's just enough time to collect the finishing medallion. Like the 8 events before it, there will be a few medallions left over. Only 154 of the 200-strong field have made it to the nation's capital. But then that's what Targa is all about. If it was easy, everyone would be in it. Finishing this event is a remarkable feat in itself.
I've noticed the enthusiasm as we've moved around the country, and that's great to see. And I guess one of the nicest feelings that comes out of the whole thing for me is that motorsport is very much alive and well in New Zealand.
And now, of course, you'll shake your hands. Thank you.
Almost time for us to run. Before we do, looking at what's happening around the country next weekend. The Dunlop Targa is New Zealand's biggest rally. It is also a huge community activity. The official charity of the rally is Cure Kids, the Child Health Research Foundation set up to raise awareness for diseases affecting children. This rally is not just a race to get to the finish line first.
After 9 exciting years, most people don't need an introduction to what Dunlop Targa is all about. Tarmac rallying over closed back roads around New Zealand's North Island. It's an incredible journey, but there's more to it than meets the eye. With over 200 cars of all vintages, there are legions of tales to tell, but none more important than this. I've always enjoyed motorsport, and as a pilot, I love the machinery and the challenge of driving. And believe me, Targa is a challenge. But I guess I got bitten last year because I realised there was a need for more than speed. At least for me anyway. What my association with Cure Kids did, for one thing, was open my eyes to the level of illness in New Zealand. Take Nader as a good example.
There are 20,000 children in New Zealand who suffer from a life-threatening illness, and Cure Kids is funding research into many things like cystic fibrosis, heart conditions, asthma, cancer, and other diseases.
Nader is a gorgeous kid from Wellington who's been so brave. She's not much younger than my own daughter Anna. That's when it really hits home.
2 years ago, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. I was the youngest girl in New Zealand with this sort of cancer.
Sure, one priority is to go fast, but the other is to raise money for Cure Kids. Getting the car to go fast was easy. Thanks to Dobson Motorsport, our Mini this year will be up with the best of them. That will draw attention to our cause and the many sponsors who make it all possible. Thanks to BMW, Armour Cup and dozens of other supporters, the Cure Kids Mini has moved up another gear. This year we are really racing to Cure Kids. And Cure Kids has been adopted as the official charity by Dunlop Targa, with fundraising along the way going towards the cause. So everything's in order. I've got Peter Hulich back in the co-driver's seat, and he is just as committed to the race to Cure Kids. Our first serious day of racing is down to Lake Taupo, 13 Targa stages through some spectacular roads in the Waikato. Changeable weather isn't making life any easier, but our Mini thunders on through the first few stages towards the central North Island, even if the windscreen keeps fogging up. Peter's busy navigating and at the same time adapting to becoming my on-demand demister. Right. And further up, higher up.
Further up?
Higher up the windscreen.
Yep.
Wipe it again. And another one lower down. I'm getting killed by this portion. Wow, I thought we were quick. That's Tony Quinn. Those four-wheel drives really make a difference in the wet. And I bet he can see out of his windscreen. One thing that is clear, there's plenty of support for Cure Kids en route. It's everything that we can do just to get to the Taupo racetrack before nightfall to catch up with a local golfing celebrity. Phil Tatarangi is the #2 New Zealand golfer on the US PGA circuit and has been professional since 1993. Ranked in the top 100 in the world, he comes home to Taupo pretty regularly and is keen to get on board with Cure Kids.
Well, my wife and I have been involved in several charities over the years with my profession and back here in New Zealand, but we really wanted to put all our energy into one charity. And what we liked about Cure Kids was that it incorporated a lot of different illnesses, and it was involved with children, and we liked having the fence at the top of the hill instead of the ambulance at the bottom.
Now, isn't that a great way to describe the work Cure Kids does? Proactive rather than reactive. Unfortunately for Phil, our day has dragged on and we only have time for a quick spin around Taupo racetrack. And it's in the dark. I hear you understand you like motor racing too.
Yeah, I've really just started getting hooked in it. I know I've always had an affliction with speed, but I've really, this year, over in the States, been to a NASCAR race and to watch Scott Dixon at one of his races, and I'm really hooked. Excellent. It was awesome. Thanks a lot.
Short ride, but next morning in the Domain, you couldn't get the smile off his face. I get the distinct impression he wouldn't mind swapping his clubs for Peter's rally computer. But you won't prize Peter out of the co-driver's seat this year, so it's farewell to Phil and on with the race.
Okay, excellent. Good luck today.
Cure Kids, the charity, of course, for research for children, and Peter Mini Cooper.
It's a long touring stage this morning before racing starts, skirting the edge of Lake Taupo and on down the desert road. We've only a moment to catch our breath at the Army Museum, a designated pit stop for servicing cars piloted by their slightly stressed drivers trying to figure out the weather. That's will it rain or won't it?
And today it looks like we're going to have a bit of everything, so it'll be interesting to see what happens today. Hopefully we'll be able to see out the windscreen today. Otherwise, car's going great, fantastic, and a lot of support from Cure Kids, which has been brilliant all round. And nice to meet Phil Tartarang yesterday.
Yesterday was pretty good for us. We're sitting in the top 10 fastest cars. That means we start over an hour after the first car leaves. Being at the back of the field does have its disadvantages, though. You often miss out on the fun. And in Taihape, there's plenty of fat. The racers come to town, the mums are frantically preparing hundreds of meals.
Hungry people. A nice hot meal with lovely salad and asparagus.
And the kids are going crazy. But it isn't just the kids. Some of the service crew have been going stir crazy, waiting for their teams to arrive and becoming a little sidetracked. As if there wasn't enough water around. How anyone takes this race seriously, I'll never know. But this is the gumboot capital of the country after all. And if the shoe fits, wear it.
Okay, you can buy the drinks tonight.
Well, I think I've got a bit to learn and practice. I need a professional coach, or I'm not going to get anywhere.
Have you got one here? Me?
Well,
I could teach him a lot.
Being a serious race, you would be crazy to have anything inside the car that might fly around, and that obviously includes the cold drinks. But where there's a will, there's a way. Check out these dudes.
What we've got on board is cans of V and a onboard Mars bars for the driver and co-driver inside the engine bay. The mechanics there are just filling it up with ice just to make sure they keep cool and nice and hard. So when we get through halfway through a stage, we can stop and have a refreshment and then carry on again.
This is one of our competitors, an amazing BMW product from the 70s, and the first turbo cars that was sold on the road now, which is something quite normal. Fabulous.
It was Ross Jensen, a race driver from the 50s and 60s, in fact, who was first responsible for importing BMWs to New Zealand. Ross, who died just a week before this year's race, was patron of Dunlop Targa. Mike Delmont's dedication to our friend and mentor is a fitting tribute to one of New Zealand's motor racing legends. Dunlop brings a myriad of race drivers out of the woodwork. Robbie Francevic is a regular in his big Pontiac GTO. Steve Millen comes home from the USA to have a go in the Falcon. And this year we've even got New Zealand Formula One legend Chris Amon here in the Toyota Sportivo. Normally it's the drivers who are high profile, but in Chris's case, he's got an equally high profile co-driver who isn't having too much trouble slipping into his new role. But things have been getting pretty hot for Murray Walker.
The brakes have been on fire, not today, but yesterday. They're taking a bit of a hammering here, but we're going well, Weather's just like it is at home.
Not everyone attracts the kind of attention that Murray Walker and Chris Amon do, but sometimes the cars themselves attract their own fair share. Take this one, a very unusual open sports car. Looks a little bit like an E-Type Jaguar, really.
Made out of a Holden Kingswood originally, 1973 Holden Kingswood, so it's all Holden. It's got a Holden chassis, it's got a Holden 308 V8 motor, Holden differential, Holden suspension, Holden everything, and barely Holden together.
We noticed that, but it sounds fantastic when you're out there, and bright yellow, it's hard to miss. And the Cure Kids, I see livery all over the vehicle. That's a great charity.
Oh, like got involved with Cure Kids through being involved with Hewlett Packard in Auckland as their distributor.
and they're strong supporters of it. But I really liked it as a charity because it's all about action. It's about actually doing something. And while a lot of charity is to do with helping people who are already sick and are already ill, the idea of actually doing a whole lot of work to really fix things, to take them away. I mean, when you see somebody that's ill, particularly a child, the best way of fixing it is not just for that child, but for all children by fixing the disease. And so I loved the whole idea of it. And the opportunity came up to borrow the Hummer off a very good friend of mine, Peter. And we thought it might attract a little bit of attention and get a few people along to some of the events that we're running here on Targa, and hopefully get them to put their hands in their pocket and give some money to Cure Kids, because it's a fantastic cause.
One such opportunity is the dry cleaning of race suits, and I can tell you, these suits do get pretty smelly.
And then you take the suits, once you've parked, to this lovely lady here, and she'll have them done overnight and waiting for you first thing in the morning.
Right, well, we'll come back. Don't I get to strip in front of the camera?
The idea of having them dry cleaned overnight for $20 is pretty good, and let's face it, the money goes to good use. I guess I better lead by example.
What? So Wally here, why don't we strip him?
Absolutely not. Cure Kids.
No, look, hang on, he's taking his gear off.
Where's he got a hand? Oh, all right then, Michael, don't knock it.
Now, we all know that minis are decidedly British. Well, so are my boxers. British to the core.
Michael, I think you have made everybody's day.
Now, Sinart, as he's known, that's specially imported, noisy and rude Tasmanian, is in charge, amongst other things, of handing out fines. For any number of reasons, and mostly completely irrelevant. But Tony Quinn's been fined today, simply for being Australian and being in the lead. So he's about to cough up some dough, all in the name of the kids.
Did you hear that? $200.
This lighter side of Dunlop Targa really makes it stand out from any other motor racing event. And it's probably the reason so many people keep coming back. I really feel at home on tracks. It's where I first cut my racing teeth. It's where you can pit yourself against your competition. And if you mess up a corner, you can always have another crack at it the next lap.
It's almost second, but it's actually a third gear corner. It's trouble when someone's got grunt. Yeah, they can hardly pass them. Shit, this thing's got grunt as well, look. Yeah. These guys have got huge grunt. We're going off on this one. Okay. Yeah, it was good. Got it together at the end, didn't we? Last lap. It'd be good if we could have done that before we went out.
Dunlop Targa is a balance of silly and serious. There's a line in motor racing and it isn't crossed. When it comes to alcohol, it's zero tolerance.
And you pass. Thank you very much. You have a good day now. All the best. Oh yeah, they're pretty good people. Nice to talk to. Everyone's got a smile, something to say, so that's really great. They're enjoying themselves. I had a couple of failed tests. It just picks up a little bit of excess alcohol, sometimes from the toothpaste, maybe from the perfume, but then when you do a proper screening test, they're negative, so there's no problems with them at all. They're really good. Hi. Hi. 121 Street. And that's a pass.
The focus for Dodson Motorsport this morning is the Great Demister debacle. Is it out or is it in? They said out and I said in.
Anti-fog's not working on the windscreen. This is our Demister.
Yay, I finally get one. Looks like the drinks are on you, boys. And it's just in the nick of time too. We're off.
Michael and his other life drives Air New Zealand jumbos up.
But not for long. We're up to 5th place overall, but shooting ourselves in the foot James Bond style. A broken oil line squirting engine oil all over our Dunlops.
It is very slippery. Yeah, it is. And we're never getting these tires up to temperature either.
We're all over the show, but look how cool Iceman Hulich is.
Press.
Take it easy.
Oil pressure's gone. Oil pressure's gone.
Yeah, it is. Do we have to stop?
Yeah.
You can pull over here.
Smells like an oil line too.
Shit. Now, should I put the triangle out?
Right.
Do I need the triangle?
Yeah, ready. Let's have a look at the bonnet. Our race is run, sidelined in the middle of nowhere. This spells the end of our competitive Targa for 2003. For the rest of the afternoon, we wait for help to arrive. There's plenty of time on our hands to look around Hunterville. I wonder what class he's in.
So absolute heartbreak that coming fifth. Here we have a little plastic hose. Here we have a lovely braided steel hose, which is the sort of hose they use in the wonderful Boeing aeroplane that never lets you down. Throw this one out. Junk. So never mind, now we're out of the rally. It's a bit of a disappointment as far as placing, but the great thing about this rally is that you can keep going, and that's what Peter and I are going to do. We're going to fly the flag, the Cure Kids, and arm up our sponsors, and enjoy the rest of the rally. Things have changed a little bit now, and I guess we can be more relaxing. If we'd made Wanganui for lunch, things were looking pretty relaxing there anyway.
As a co-driver, all co-drivers do is check tyre pressures. And they read a map sometimes, so we get to lunch.
Hey, we got this far without any problems. We haven't had any penalties yet, so you see him if we want to go faster.
Would you agree with what he's just said?
No, not at all. On behalf of all co-drivers, we're part of the team.
So is she good, this very good?
It's fantastic. I recommend it.
This is the fifth driver I've done from this rally, and they all need a good
rushed out, took some out straight away.
rub down. Get in there.
So they all need a good sort of going over there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they benefit from it. They can stand up to their captains rallying on.
There's some serious fundraising going on in the Wairarapa. We're being fleeced from all directions. Another car wash, another clean car, and another $5 for a good cause. This is what makes Targa tick. Have you ever noticed that every time their kids around, the big kids from the service crews come out to play? Now that's event organiser Mike John. Surely he wouldn't condone this kind of behaviour.
Absolutely. The sillier and the bigger the gun, the better.
Got the backup one.
Now Mike John might think his is the biggest show in town come the last week in October, but in Gladstone they have other ideas. It's their festival week, and scarecrows outnumber the rally big time. And surprise, surprise, there's even real scarecrows on hand to extract more cash from the hapless racers.
We're making sure the racing cars give the money to Texas.
And are they doing that?
Yep.
Sure?
Yep.
Get this, departure tax, and it's no joke.
Thank you very much.
Notice how everyone's getting their route book stamped. Heaven help anyone who turns up at the next official checkpoint without a validation stamp. That's when the fines start and the real fundraising begins for Cure Kids.
We just think it's great. I mean, while we get involved with quite a lot of smaller community charities, we think this is the tops them all, because without our kids there's not a lot of hope. By gee, there's a lot of diseases out there that need research, and this is the best organisation to make that happen.
Here in Wellington, we have a strong research focus on a number of important child health topics. Since most patients with cystic fibrosis will eventually die at a relatively young age because of complications of infection within their lungs, our research team has elected to concentrate their activities on the very young infants. We've been able to show that in young children, that airway injury can be reversed by very aggressive treatment. We believe that the life expectancy of patients with cystic fibrosis can be dramatically increased.
It's brilliant to see progress like this being made at the Malligan Institute, but on the track, progress is nearly over for another year. Just one last tricky stage around Wellington Harbour. This is a bit like the Monaco Grand Prix. One mistake and you're in the drink with the spectator and officials' boats. Mike John's out with the best view in the event, taking the opportunity to thank all his sponsors and hand over a cheque for Cure Kids.
I think this is great to be able to raise this sort of money, and I've got to thank all the competitors and everybody who's been fined that contributed towards this large cheque.
When it's all washed up, the final figure is much more than $9,000, thanks to Brightwater Ridge donating 1,000 cases of water and Dunlop auctioning off some of their huge posters. A total of not $9,000, but $16,000 has been reached. Not bad as a sideline target for a bunch of race drivers thrown together over a week once a year. Over the period of a year, sponsors like BMW, Accor, Philips and Hewlett-Packard will donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to this vital research. Add to that support from our new sponsor, Armour Cup, and we really are seriously racing to cure kids.
Well, Armour Cup's a shipping company importing cars from Japan. A New Zealand-owned company, has been around for about 16 years. We're showing our support over a period of time. We're absolutely rapt to be involved and contribute to this fabulous charity.
Arriving in here, look at the livery all over the car. The official Cure Kids entry, Michael Fitzpatrick, the airline pilot. Alarm Sergeant Peter Hoositt. Beautiful looking car.
So that's our story for Dunlop Targa 2003. Sure, we've got a faster Mini this year. However, the real race worth winning is the race to cure kids. Let's see you in the race next year.
My advice to other people is to keep positive and live every day to the fullest. I've got one word for you. Go Cure Kids!
And stay with us on Shell Helix Motorsport as we feature